Thinking about buying your first home but not sure what's actually true? Today I'm busting 10 of the biggest myths that keep first time buyers from becoming homeowners here in the Huntsville area. And some of these might surprise you, but before we begin, if you think about buying your first home in Huntsville or Madison, you can schedule your free first time home buyer strategy call by using the link in the description. I help people just like you every single week work through the entire buying process, whether you're a first time home buyer or you've done it before but still need help. So click the link in the description and schedule your strategy call. Now let's get to busting these 10 biggest myths. All right, so let's jump right in and go over these 10 common myths about buying your first home. We're going to go in and say, don't let bad advice hold you back. The problem is that real estate is not a one size fits all. Every situation is different. That's what I love about real estate, is that every single deal that I work on is completely different. And so what happened to other people may not happen to you. Don't let people's bad advice hold you back. Don't make them think that because something happened to them that you're not going to be able to do something. So it's best to meet with a real estate agent, go over your situation, and allow that agent to help you formulate a plan that can move you forward to home ownership if that's what your overall goal is. So going in, myth number one, I need 20% down to buy a house. This is not true. There's different types of loan vehicles that can help you, purchase a home at lower rates. You have an FHA loan, 3.5% down. If you're a veteran and qualify, you have a VA loan, which is 0%. There's USDA loans. Depending on where the property is located, it may qualify for 0% down. And then conventional, as little as 3% down. There may be private mortgage insurance on that conventional loan, but that allows you to not have to put so much down up front for a down payment. So, needing 20% is not really the case anymore. You're able to get in to one of these different types of loan products at a lower rate as of right now. My credit has to be perfect. It's better if it's perfect or close to. 580 for FHA is the minimum. Conventional is 620, and VA loans, it really depends. And you just have to get with a lender to let them run your credit, which you see on Credit Karma, and the credit bureaus may not reflect what a lender pulls when they pull your credit. So that's not always a one for one. You may see 680 on Credit Karma, but that may not be what the lender sees when they pull your credit. Maybe something different that's below 620. So it's really important early in the process, if you're thinking about purchasing a home, to get with a lender, have them pull your credit to see if you even qualify. So it's, you don't waste time. You can, if you don't qualify, you can, if you think you're on the edge and you end up being, then you have, time to work on your credit. That a lot of these lenders will have credit repair programs to help you work through that so that you do qualify, in the near future. All right, myth number 3, I'm better off renting. Some people it works. Some people it's beneficial for them to rent over home ownership. I've never tried to force anybody owning a home, but if you feel that you're, tossing around the idea that maybe you should purchase a house, but you hear from people like Grant Cardone, renting's better. You're pretty much paying somebody else's mortgage. You're creating wealth for somebody else. You're not getting any appreciation in owning anything. I understand certain situations like your credit's not good enough, or you can't even come up with, a 3.5% down payment. That's, all situational. But in the long run, I've helped people buy a house and then sell that house 3 or 4 years later, and the appreciation on those houses has, given them some wealth. They've been able to buy bigger properties using that appreciation on the first house. So, you're not always better off renting. If you are able to purchase, you can build some equity. You have an asset that will help you, grow your wealth. So that's myth number 3. All right, myth number 4, I should wait for interest rates to drop. We're never gonna know what's going to happen with interest rates. They go up, they go down, stay the same. As of right now, it doesn't look like anything's going down, but you never know. So people have been waiting for 2 years now for them to drop below 6. They're still waiting. So if you feel like home ownership is what you want to do, you should always just deal with what the circumstances are at that time, and then if they get better, then you can refinance. But waiting can always cause you have to pay more later. So it's just something that you have to factor into purchasing a home. If it'll affect your mortgage payment. So that's you have to go in thinking that's what I'm going to pay, and then if it gets better in 2 years or so, you can refinance, and that help lower your payment. But there's always the possibility that they go up even higher. So that's just something you have to factor in when you're purchasing a home at this point in time, because we just don't know what's going to happen with it. All right, myth number 5, I need to pay off my debt first. Your debt income ratio does have to be in a good standing. So you may have to pay off debt. You don't need to pay all of it off. You just need to be within a certain debt to income ratio. Your lender will be able to tell you what that is. And then they'll tell you what you might need to work on if it's not in a good standing. So student loans, car payments, credit cards, those type of things will affect your debt to income ratio. There's also certain things like on your credit cards, if it's over a certain, all your cards are maxed out, that type of thing is not, it's not a good thing either. So if you're really bad in debt, it's something you're gonna have to work towards getting paid off before you can qualify to purchase a home. But you don't need to pay all of it off. You just need to be within a certain debt to income ratio, and any lender will be able to tell you, what that is based on your situation. All right. Myth number 6, buying a home is too complicated. That's what we're here for. We're here to give you a strategy to help you meet with a lender to get financing, do your home search, make an offer, go through inspections, make sure everything's good on the lending side, and then get you to the closing table. A good agent will make it feel easy, and that's one thing that I've tried to in the past, educate along the way, educate before doing anything, so that you're not blindsided by anything. That's the biggest problem when it comes to real estate is people will get into buying a house or selling a house and get blindsided by stuff because they weren't educated, before that happens. And I try to stay ahead of that with every client of mine. I do a lot of education in the strategy session, explain why I do things and why the process is the way it is, so that you're not blindsided and you should be able to get to the closing table without any huge surprises or things that come up. There, of course, there's certain things that happen here and there, but for the most part, the process is the same for everyone. You just have to put people's situation within that process and be able to work through to create a smooth transaction. It's not very complicated. There's just agents help with the paperwork, help with the offer, they help negotiate. So that's off of your plate. If they explain everything the way it should be explained and educate, it shouldn't be a huge complicated process for a client. All right, myth number 7, I should find a house before talking to a lender. That's absolutely false. You shouldn't look at houses until you've talked to a lender. It's just a waste of your time. if you do, and you should always talk to a lender so they can see if you're even qualified. There's no bigger letdown than looking at houses, find something you really like, and then you finding out you don't qualify for a certain loan. So it's just pretty much a waste of time, of everybody's time, if you're not qualified when it comes to purchasing. So you should always meet with a lender first. Anytime I talk to a buyer, the first question I ask is, have you talked to a lender yet? And if not, then I recommend, I have a list of lenders that I recommend, and you can talk to all of them. I recommend talking to every one of them that's on the list so that you can decide who you want to work with. But yes, you should talk to a lender before looking for a house. All right, myth number 8, I don't need a buyer's agent. Buyer's agents can keep you out of trouble, keep you from getting into a bad deal. Buyer's agents help negotiate. They help make sure the contracts are right, help with inspections, knowing what to request on the repairs. They have market knowledge, making sure you're not overpaying, and they just help limit the number of mistakes that can happen. So in most transactions, of course, this is all negotiable. This is, part of that NAR settlement that buyer's compensation is negotiable. And so most of the time, buyers don't have to pay compensation, but it's all negotiable. So it just really depends on the transaction and what the seller's willing to do. So in most situations, you should have a buyer's agent because they can keep you out of a lot of trouble, keep you from losing a lot of money. Alabama is a buyer beware state, and there's things that a first-time home buyer may not know about what to look for, or the buyer is responsible for finding all things that are wrong with the house, deed, any kind of paperwork. It's all on the buyer to make sure all that's correct. And if you're a first-time home buyer, have never done it before, you may not know what to look for. So I would definitely recommend having a buyer's agent. I recommend interviewing more than one, just so you can see what people offer, how they help. Not everybody works with everybody, so it's always good to have more than one option, and choose the agent that you feel would do the best for you and work best with you. So I would definitely recommend having a buyer's agent when it comes to buying a property. Myth number 9, every home will have a bidding war. It's not 2021 anymore. Here in Huntsville, there's a lot of inventory compared to what it's been, and so there's not as much competition. Desirable properties in desirable areas, there could be more competition, could have a possibility for a bidding war. It's less common now than it was 4 or 5 years ago. So that's not really the case here in Huntsville. It could happen, but especially depending on the property, but it's just not something that's common right now. And myth number 10, I can figure it out on my own. You can figure it out on your own. But if you want to move with speed and quickness and with less mistakes, somebody that's done it multiple times, that's an expert at contracts, negotiations, inspections, it's best to be able to do it with speed and accuracy. I said there's not a lot of multiple bid situations, but there is a lot of houses going under contract super quick. So if you want to have speed to offer, then working with an agent is the best way to do that. And you can, of course, learn how to do all this on your own. You can, of course, do it unrepresented. But if you want to best protect yourself against making a mistake on your own that you could make because you've never done it before, it's always good to have somebody that's an expert at doing this in your corner and to help you make good, educated decisions based on their expertise. So, and that concludes the 10 for first-time homebuyer takeaways. You probably don't need 20% down. Credit doesn't have to be perfect. Like I said, it has to be for certain loan products. It has to be a uh, certain rate, like 580 for FHA, 620 for conventional. Um, so that's that for credit. Waiting isn't always the right strategy. Things can always get worse. Preparation beats timing. Like I said, if you know have somebody that's in your corner that gets you set up right with the right strategy before going into it, then you'll have a better chance of being able to control what happens in a transaction and help you get the property you really want with a great offer. That's a win-win for both sides. That's what you really want in a real estate transaction, is to make both sides feel like they've won, because it makes everybody happy. It makes the transition smoother. You don't have high tempers. You don't have things going on that can kill a deal towards the end of the transaction period. So, two agents working together hopefully can make it a smooth transition for both sides. And it's really important for first-time home buyer, as in this situation here. So, all right, the right real estate agent and lender can turn a complicated process into a clear, manageable plan. Like I've mentioned, an agent working with a lender can help you through the entire process and help mitigate any mistakes, stress that may come with it. Of course, it's going to be stressful. It's one of the biggest transactions you've ever done in your life, but we're here to help that be a smoother transition for you. Why this matters here in Huntsville. Huntsville's not just growing, it's thriving. All kinds of stuff coming here. One of the fastest growing cities in America. Got Space Command coming here. FBI still moving. There's a lot of moving parts that you have to do quickly. And like I said earlier, being able to move with speed and in a strategic way can help you lock down and purchase a property that you really want and not have to really compete with other buyers. So that's why demystifying these myths and working with an agent that understands what needs to be done from a strategic approach to help a buyer buy a property is best for you as a first-time home buyer. So that's why this really matters here in Huntsville. Properties are still moving quickly. We're just not seeing a lot of the multiple offers, but properties are going fairly quick. So you just need to be able to move with speed, and that's what the biggest factor when it comes to hiring an agent is somebody that can help you do that. All right, so first-time home buyer strategy. Come up with a strategy plan that's based on your situation. I help put you with a lender. Like I said, I have a list that my trusted lenders that I've worked with over the last 8 years, and they help you from the financing side, and then I help with home search, offer, inspection, all the other negotiations that's involved in all that, and then of course, look at neighborhood recommendations based on what you want, where you work, what type of home you want to live in, and then I come up with a plan to help you look at those, and then of course research and offer strategy to make sure you're not overpaying, and we can negotiate a good deal to where the seller feels more inclined to accept your offer, or at least counter with something that's fairly close, and then help you with contract to closing guidance, getting you through that due diligence period, the 10 days after contract date, and get you through the underwriting phase with a lender, and then working with the closing attorney to make sure everything's fine. I always think that 2 weeks prior to closing attorney is ready for that deal to close because they're tired of hearing from me. So I make sure everything's on the right timeline to get it closed by the close date that's on the contract. And so just very strategic in the way I do the negotiating and getting you your offer ready to go, and then getting you to that closing table. All right, so don't let these myths delay your dream of home ownership. If that's a dream of yours, a goal of yours, it's good to meet with somebody to be able to lay out a strategy so that you can see the big picture and fit yourself in that strategy, because it's based on you. A lot of agents just say this is the process. Well, that process may be the same, but how does that work for you? And that's what on this free strategy call, I help you picture yourself moving through every step of the process to be able to get to the closing table. And the way that's done is you can click on the link in the description, like I said in the beginning of the video, and then select a time that works best for you. We'll just walk you through your process, give you a list of lenders that you can contact, and then if it's all good and you feel comfortable with moving forward, then that's what we can do. Just like it says here, just no pressure, just clarity of what you could be capable of doing based on your situation. And if you feel comfortable with that, then it's you can move forward. So thanks for watching. If you have any questions, you can reach out. Phone number is 256-542-0226. Give me a call or a text. Either one works, and I'll be glad to answer any questions. But once again, thank you for watching. Have a great day. And if you learned a lot from this video, I've created a playlist that's just for you. And it's right here. You can click up here, and there's all kinds of videos on how to purchase a home in the Huntsville area. Hope to see you over there. Go ahead. Click it.